Like to call to order the Budget Committee meeting on March 20th, 2025. And first thing, have roll call. Chris Perrin,
Here.
Pam Smith,
Here.
Steve Nesbit,
Here.
Heidi Watson,
Here.
Lisa Strube.
Here.
And Carol may either be late or won't attend. I guess the next thing is review of meeting minutes. Those would be the minutes of 3:13.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor? It's unanimous. So I have a question for the order of the meeting tonight. What does everyone think about going back to the start and we can approve sections as we go? Even though we've looked at these previously, we just didn't approve it. So now if we approve that, we can just move through the whole operating budget.
Good for me.
Okay, so,
Question,
yes,
do we have to, be only approving sections that have already been forwarded to us by the council? They've,
well, the whole operating budget. That's from page, probably 2 through,
so they've already approved every section? Or does it matter?
Yeah.
Or does it matter if we wait for their approval?
they've approved everything. They approved it on past Sat, well, yeah. That Saturday, they approved, like they voted on.
They passed everything on to us.
Yeah,
Okay.
except donations. And then donations they did last night and added those in.
I think they moved everything last night.
Yes,
Yeah,
they did.
So we have 2 weeks from last night to give our
Right.
recommendation.
right.
That'll be April 2nd.
So if we go to revenues.
Could I make a request that we do revenues last?
Sure.
Yeah.
Expenses first, if that's all right. It's up to you. I've just.
No, that's fine if everyone agrees with that.
Can I ask the reasoning for that? In case I want to do that next year?
I'll have, I generally like to know the full expenses. It's just,
Makes sense.
I'm an old dog.
It makes sense to me.
And I guess since being on the council and budget committee, it's always go through the expenses first and the last thing's on the revenues.
Got it.
I will have some, I think a couple revenue questions to ask.
Yep.
Regarding tips.
Okay.
But obviously if you want to make a change and start a new trend, please, you're the chair, Mr. Chair.
We go to assessing.
Yes. I have a note. There was a question about I think the appraiser position.
Mhm.
And that's because there's a rolling reval by law every 4 years. So now it will, instead of every 4 years, it'll be continuous.
I have the answers in front of me. If you want me to read anything, I'm happy to.
Was that a question?
Page 11 was about the part-time clerk, or is it two separate people to fill those positions?
Right.
It's one position, it's a full-time position funded half in the assessing department, half in the general administration department. They will primarily be handling front counter duties and administrative duties for the CEO, planning and assessing department. I know we all got these, but maybe for the public watching, it would be nice to answer the
Yeah.
questions.
Anyone have a question? Any further question on that? Travel expenditures, I didn't have a note. Dues. Actual. Anyone have anything on that? Training?
We know why that, went up so much in, that last year from 24 to 25. And it's the same for last year, but the year before it had shot up. Well, I suppose that you already addressed that last year when you looked at it.
For which are we talking?
The, training,
It's because of hiring the new employee, I believe.
Right.
okay.
Well, I think when you see the 24, that's what was expended.
Right,
So in the budget was 6,025.
yeah.
And in 26, they're proposing 6,000. I don't know. This doesn't show what was budgeted for 24. That's just showing what was expended in 24.
Right.
Budget book to get to that.
I'd have to dig.
I don't know that we have to. Heidi's on it.
I haven't.
Probably similar.
On training?
Yep.
It was $6,000 last year, expended in 23, $820.
Can I ask again? I know I ask this all the time, but what happens to the money they don't spend in training? Where does it go?
The general fund.
Goes back to general fund. Okay. Thank you.
And that show up in revenue. How does that?
Well, at the end of the fiscal year, it goes back into the general fund, so you wouldn't see it in revenue.
Okay.
In this revenue, which you would see that is in the audit report.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Yep.
and when we go through revenue based on the general fund policy, they may take money out of the general fund to offset the taxes that would go to the property tax relief by using surplus.
Yep.
So if we have a general fund policy where we want a certain amount in the general fund based off the how much it costs to run the town for 2 to 3 months. Or above that, the finance director and the town manager will say, well, I think we can take money out of the general fund to lower the mill rate to give property tax relief. And when you look at revenue on page 4, Near the bottom, you'll see use of surplus. That's taking money out of the general fund. Last year it was $800,000. This year they're taking out $500,000.
Okay.
A typical rule, $10,000 is 1 cent towards the mill rate. So if you were to save $10,000 out of the budget, you're taking 1 cent off the mill rate. If you add $10,000, you're adding 1 cent
Yep.
to the mill rate. So by taking $500,000 out, you're saving 50 cents off the mill rate. It's, in general, that's how it's looked at.
Okay, anything else on assessing? And if not, can I get a motion to move that?
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous? And then we'll go to code enforcement. Have any further questions on this?
I wasn't clear on the travel expenditures. I gathered that there's a town vehicle that the code enforcement officer uses when it's available,
Yes.
but otherwise, so the travel expenditures is only for when a town vehicle is not available and he has to drive his own vehicle. Okay.
That's the way I understand.
So the amount is so small, it sounds to me like the vast majority of the time there's a vehicle available for his travel.
I think part of that was because they were talking about adding another person too, to help him.
Okay.
So if there's only one vehicle available, I think, don't quote me on that.
Heidi's got some information.
On page 20, we asked, is the law enforcement vehicle COs to use all the time? Yes, unless the new field agent is using the vehicle and the assessing department is using theirs.
So you have the new, under salaries, page 19, we have a new CO assistant, full-time position, so we're adding a full, so this is the second full assistant that's being added this year.
I have a question on page 21. The NFPA, that's only updated every 3 years, and it was just updated in 2024. And they had signed up for it last year as well, I believe. So do they need that $300? It's not gonna get updated again until 2027. It's a small thing, but
Is that a code book?
yes, I don't remember what it's called. It is called the
National Fire Protection something?
No, it's a NFPA on page 21.
Yeah.
It is a code book, but I don't remember what its exact name is. I should have written it down.
Well, looking at the expense report through period 7, only $70 has been paid for. So they have not purchased a code that yet this year.
They did it in 2024.
Not in this year.
Right, but it only gets updated every 3 years.
Right, but
So
I'm,
it's still the same book.
okay.
No,
Well,
that's my question, because I've never noticed it before.
I think he's saying we haven't spent the money on it yet.
right.
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha.
if it was in last year's, based off of what's been expended through 7/25,
Thank you.
they haven't done it yet. Now they could still purchase it through this.
That clarifies what I'm looking at.
NFPA is National Fire Protection Association.
That's what I figured.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't have any other notes in that section.
We were, we look at page 24, which is fuel and lubricants. Now that they're getting vehicles more on their own, I think you brought this up, Heidi, at one of our previous meetings, that in 2024 they expended $2,300. 25 was budgeted $1,500. This year it's $1,500, and if we look at fuels and lubricants through 7/25, they're at $1,700. So they're already over budget on that. So, should we propose a larger budget for fuels and lubricants, because that will be fuels and lubricants for the new vehicle
So
that they'll get.
is that 1,700 at the end of the year? Is that the,
No, this is through 7/25, so you still have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you still have
Okay,
5 more
okay.
months. And they're already past what was budgeted for that.
so about 1,800, 17 something?
Yes, $1,778. So if you do that, the 1,500 is too low. Typically, when you look at the overall budget for code enforcement at the end of their fiscal year, they're not over budget as a department. So they may go over budget by a line item, but they'll be under budget on other things.
Right.
So they're under budget for the department. So that doesn't raise it. There's nothing that you have to do at the town meeting in June to say, is that okay? And those things happen, and generally the finance director and the town manager work with the department heads to shift things around when things like that come up. A lot of the focus in the past from the budget committee is always to reduce. But I think part of what we should do is always make sure that the right amount of money is there.
I agree with you.
So maybe this line item should be added $1,000 added to it to meet the need and be at 2,500.
Agreed.
I think you saw this, Heidi, so I don't know how you feel about it.
I think 2,500 is reasonable. I wouldn't even mind making a motion to double it to $3,000 and add an, I don't know if that's, we're expended over the past 2 years. So last year we expended $1,000 more than the year prior to that. So I
Yeah.
think $1,000 might get us closer to the mark.
Yep. The one thing, which is certainly fine, the one thing I want to bring up is how this will work is we'll make a recommendation. The council will either accept a recommendation or reject that recommendation. They can't modify the recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
So if we say $1,500 to bring it to 3,000, they think it's too much, they may reject it because of that. They can't say, well, I think that's too much, we'll accept 1,000. They can't
Do that.
yeah,
Mhm.
if they do that, then they've actually then created a new budget, and technically it needs to then come back to us and give us another 2 weeks. So those are just some things to consider.
Understand, yeah, that makes sense.
So, you can always play it safe. So I'm up to
I will-
adding 1,000 or 1,500.
Okay.
I'm open to what you propose, Heidi.
I'd like to make a motion to add $1,000 to the fuel and lubricants line item CEO vehicle.
Second?
In favor? Unanimous. Do we have anything else for code enforcement? And if not, I get a motion to move code enforcement forward
As amended.
With that addition.
with that as amended, yes.
As amended with that recommendation. And who was that, first?
Pam,
Pam,
and then Lisa.
thank you. Did we vote on it?
All in favor as amended? Okay. And all in favor to move it forward?
Oh, yeah.
We already do that.
Yes.
Yeah, we just did that.
General administration.
The salary increase largely driven by the new halftime person that's shared with assessing.
And it looks like and raises COLA increases.
Yeah,
Mhm.
COLA increases and front end assistant. COLA is 3.5. That came from personnel committee and town manager and maybe the finance director
Mhm.
looked at that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the raise for the town manager, that's set by contract. The administrative assistant would be set by the COLA, and then you have the front-end assistant, which is the halftime position added, which is new. I think that halftime position, they said, would be used here, front-end CEO assessing. This person's going to be moving around.
Right.
That was the answer.
Usually it's
Moving around, but in the same seat.
Yeah, I see them multifunctional.
Yes.
Or I'd rather, seems like a bit much, but I think hiring a halftime person is difficult. So you really got to hire a full-time person. So
Some people really like to be busy all the time, you know? They might really enjoy it.
mhm.
I cover 5 programs.
Yeah.
You can see the relief that will help with when you're at the side. I don't know that this person will actually be like a clerk that does the driver's licenses or license plate bills, because that's a special training.
Don't think,
I think this is off over on the planning side, code enforcement side um, of the office.
yes,
Right, that's what it says, front counter duties and administrative duties for the CEO, Planning and Assessing Department.
Yep.
Heidi had an answer.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah.
This one, it was on page 11.
Right.
So yes.
Okay, so telephone, postage. Maintenance. Contractual.
So under contractual, these are the grant matching funds. We asked, what would these grant matching funds be used for this year? And the answer was there are no matching funds in fiscal year 25. These funds will be used for any grants that require the town to put up matching funds. And we also asked, there's already money in the reserve account for this. There is currently $27,216 remaining in the reserve account for grant matching funds.
Right.
They also have, they don't have an official policy yet. It's just a draft. So it hasn't been adopted. Their grant matching fund target is $35,000. I don't know. Where that comes from, but
I think some of it may be that there's some grants that need to be paid completely upfront and then are reimbursed if it's half or whatever the grant would be, comes back.
well, you have one grant matching fund that's in the capital plan that we have to budget for 300,000. I think this one may be new opportunities that come up that are smaller that they could use for this. I don't have what it was. Let's go back to my book to where we were last year in the reserves. Did we add money? I can look at this real quick. So,
Is it in the book or is it in the additional documents?
so just last year for contractual, looks like they used a little less than $2,000 in grant matching funds. So that means they put probably $13,000 from last year's grant matching funds into the reserve. So they added to the reserve last year to bring that up to the 25,000 that they have. I forgot the number.
27,200.
It is 27,000. So it's a fund that's still building and building.
Mhm.
Like I say, there's now a draft policy. So we're making progress. And then their draft policy, they put a target level of $35,000.
I think I'm okay leaving that one, just based on the current situation. A lot of grants, I think, are gonna get, a lot of people are gonna have to go for a lot more grants. And they're probably gonna force them to match because the government's gonna say no, or the state's gonna say, no, we don't have the money.
You're okay with overfunding it?
I think it's gonna get used a lot more this year. Overfunding it? No,
Okay.
but I think it's gonna
Yes,
get used a
I
lot
understand.
more.
I used the wrong word, I'm sorry.
No, no, you're good.
Right. I was gonna make a motion to,
But
I can try, I'll try.
I'm open for discussion, yeah.
I was thinking about just dropping it down to $8,000.
I was thinking of removing
Okay.
it, to be
That's
honest.
what I saw.
So I think we have a lot of differences here that you can go for. I mean, I see the point on reserve funds. I think we've talked about reserve funds and how they can be used over years.
So they could use, if we didn't have this in here, they could use reserve funds to.
They still have the 27,000 in reserve funds.
Yep.
I think they're asking for 15, like it's normally been asked every year. And in their draft policy, they have a target of 35.
Mm-hmm.
The math all works out to ask for another $15,000 then. But how, it's,
I'm good with using the current pad they've got.
I just feel we've discussed the reserve funds for several years. We've asked for the policy. I'm glad to see a draft policy.
Agree.
I was hoping for something that was passed in concrete by now. So I think if people don't mind, I'd like to start off with a motion to reduce contractual by $15,000 to remove the grant matching funds.
Then I will second that. Reasoning makes sense.
In favor?
Aye.
So motion fails.
Make a motion that we decrease it to $8,000 from 15.
One moment, please.
Yep.
I guess I can take notes later too. That's fine.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
I've been in your shoes.
I second that.
So motion and seconded to change grant matching funds to $8,000.
So to reduce by 7,000.
Right.
Motion and seconded. Do all in favor? Unanimous.
General administration portion
Still
as
have,
amended. Oh,
I still have a few.
We
Okay.
still have some.
We're going through some pages, Mr. Chair, or
I put a note on page 32 for equipment maintenance about adding payroll and timekeeping. Does anyone else have that?
yes.
Okay, so does that mean there's extra money coming in, or they did already add? I don't recall.
That is the reason for the increase in
Gotcha.
equipment maintenance, because they're adding payroll and timekeeping to the munis.
Okay.
Explain that again?
So right now, I think the munis does not include payroll and timekeeping in the program. So they want to add that function in to make it more streamlined.
In the financial applications?
Mm-hmm. So that will increase the overall equipment maintenance. That's the big driver in the equipment maintenance. And increase it by $61,000.
You say payroll and what?
Timekeeping.
Okay.
It is listed on the financial applications. Does list payroll.
Is general administration where they had small equipment? I guess in the town council budget for
You mean like a,
contingency, they had town council chairs and then laptops. They had asked a question to break those two out because I don't feel that those two items belong in the contingency. I think they were better served in other areas. I don't know if we got a comment made from town staff on that. I know we asked to say, how much would the chairs cost? How much would the laptops cost? And if we did move it out into contingency, where would the place be? And I thought general administration would be that spot for the chairs because there was, and just, you can just let me look if I am.
page 59?
That's not general administration though, is it?
I could be
Oh,
right. A new equipment.
Page 41.
Yes, because underneath new equipment, there is a note, items needed for general purpose like chairs, filing cabinets, etc. So I was thinking maybe the council chairs, because they're not for the town council, they're for town council chambers, right?
Mm-hmm.
We would be able to sit in them, I hope, or if planning board came, they could sit in them as well. Or any function that came here could sit in them, that those chairs would be more appropriate in this section. So did we get any response to that?
Yes. So if the council chooses, they can be moved to another relevant department, or if they would like to pay for them from a bond versus tax dollars, we could move it to do that as well. So I think if we make a recommendation to move it there, we can certainly do that. And then how much money is to be spent on the chairs and iPads? The iPad / Windows-based device were $10,500. Council chamber chairs were $3,000. We also asked if the counselors would use the iPads. They said all presumably. Would there be a purchase for the planning board, purchasing for the planning board also not at this time? They want the council to try it first and on training and supporting function.
Okay,
And then that was, yep.
so this is like a little two-parter, which I'm doing here. I'm gonna propose that on page 41, that we add $3,000 for the town council chamber chairs. And if we approve that, we will knowingly, when we get to town council, we'll be removing that money from contingency.
I will second that move.
All in favor? And that was to add 3,000 to page 41.
To page 41
New equipment.
Yep.
for Town council chamber.
I love your thought process behind that. I think you're completely right on that, and it is a better place for that to be.
I just think contingency has a specific function, and that's not really the function where it was at. So. Now. Of course, there was probably money left over in contingency last year that the council could have expended and used it. It's always better to go through the approval process and use it for the chairs, and save that contingency for things that come up that weren't planned for or an emergency instead of purchasing extra equipment. So. And that was all of my questions with general administration.
Okay, so now you can
And I move to move the general administration budget forward with the 2 amendments as stated.
I'll second that.
all in favor? Unanimous. Cable television.
I have a note on page 45. Did we add $1,000 for 8 planning board workshops?
Yes,
Bringing that up to 7,800?
we did. Did you get new papers?
No, I'm looking at all the old stuff.
I wonder who collected them for you.
I don't know. But they did add $1,000.
Okay, thank you.
There was a question regarding this, if they would be broadcast live, and the answer is yes, if the cable operators are available those nights.
Page 47. Asked how many PCs would be replaced and
17.
17.
I have written down 3 to 4 a year. Is it 17 this year or 17 in total?
We're saying 17 total.
I think
Total, so
17.
3 to 4 each year?
Because
I
of,
don't know how many are
because of
timing out.
the Windows,
Right.
um,
Windows up.
problem, and the
upgrade.
answer was 17. How many computers exactly are being replaced? 17.
What computers are these for?
I'm sorry?
Around back
Yeah. around that.
Town staff.
or staff.
Okay,
They have 17 right now that are going to time out on Windows 10.
staff in the whole
Yeah.
operation.
Windows 10 is going down.
Okay,
And the finance director, along with their IT support, believe that those that are on Windows 10 can't be upgraded and still function.
Mhm.
So 17. So they're replacing them for $1,000 a piece.
Those are nice laptops, unless they are actual desktop PCs.
I would believe that these are desktops.
Desktop, that's fair.
I don't think you would see a majority of these being laptops, especially at that price. That's a cheaper price.
Do we know, do they run is it a server? Does everyone feed off a server here with IT? Or does everyone have a desktop that's independent of everybody else?
There's a server.
Server, okay.
They have MFA controlling,
Okay.
so forth, and backups and all of that.
Okay, anything on the internet and webpage or public access?
One comment when you're done going through.
Do we want to?
Comment. So going back to page 47, again, in contingency, there were the proposed laptops for town council that was budgeted at $10,000,
10,005 for iPads.
10,005. I think we'll remove the iPads and just call them make it generic. I think that's what they were trying to do as well during the meetings. This is where it would go.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What are you gonna make a motion?
How many,
I'm
is this for, there's 5 people on town council, this would be 5 laptops?
Seven.
7?
7.
Or 7 laptops, okay. I'll make that motion to move the 10,500 for 7 laptops from contingency to new equipment. Cable television, new equipment.
I second that.
All in favor of moving 10,500 from town council contingency to cable television new equipment?
Or is that 4 yes?
I think it's unanimous. Oh, no.
5 yes?
Yes.
and 1 no.
One no.
So 5-1. It passes.
What's your reservation, Steve?
Nothing, go ahead.
I just don't know that they'll be fully embraced. That's my thing.
I fear the same thing. I asked if they were gonna remain here or if they're gonna be assigned and taken out by town council. They're gonna be taken home.
Oh, they'll
Yeah.
take them with them. They'll have their email on them. They'll be their fully functional laptops
Mhm.
for communications and so forth. So I hope they
Yeah.
embrace that. So that's
Okay.
fine.
So that,
I'm sorry we can't all be
In unison.
in unison.
five, one. Town council.
Oh, we gotta move this whole thing forward.
Yeah, we've got
Oh,
to move
okay.
the amendment.
I make a motion to accept the cable television as amended with one amendment. Forward.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous. Yes, to move it forward.
Brings the contingency in town council increase down to 0 by moving those 2 items.
It should bring it down to 15,000.
Right.
And we should still make a motion to reduce to 15,000
Okay.
to, I think, to complete our change.
Motion.
15.
Yeah, I'll start with the motion just to get that out of the way. So on page 59, contingency, I would like to reduce contingency by 13,500. Because we moved town council chamber chairs to general administration and laptops to cable television.
Second.
All in favor?
On page 53.
Yeah.
I I was here for that conversation. I will, like, similar, you said, I have a motion, but I'd like to talk about another area as well, and that's planning board. I would like to see this go back down to the $10,500 and increase the planning board stipends. That's my, they're doing things outside in, exposed to the elements, all this stuff. I know that's what they sign up for. I don't think the counselors need a raise. We don't have to, like, you know, I will, and I don't even, maybe I should not vote on it. Maybe I can't even make a motion on this because I'm married to a counselor. I think I probably shouldn't even say anything.
No,
He did vote no
Up
on
to
that.
you.
well, why don't we do this? Why don't you ask the question if you can vote on this or not because you're married to a town council?
Okay. Committee? I just ask, you all know that I'm married to Counselor Watson, and I know if am I allowed to vote on this or not?
So we are asking whether she can move forward and give her unbiased opinion.
Right, so
I have no problem with Heidi Watson moving forward and voting on it.
I don't, how does the committee feel? No
fine.
hands,
I am
she
fine.
votes.
Go for it.
I'm
I'm
fine
okay with it.
her
Yeah.
giving her opinion.
So we're all set with that.
Okay.
Okay.
It may be best if you don't make the motion.
Okay.
I tend to agree. I do not believe it was an elected position and they asked for it. I'm not about increasing the stipend. It sounded good in my head, but it comes out funky. I think we should move that 10,005.
So
Are you
this
making a
is
motion?
A motion to,
Oh, yeah, I can make that motion. I make that motion to, move the 10,000. Wait a minute. 10,500 is what they always get, right? So we're not moving 10,500.
You're reducing by 3,500.
Right, because they're proposing.
You don't have
14.
this page.
14.
Have that page.
So they increased it to $14,000.
Right.
Okay. So then I make a motion to decrease the town council stipends by $3,500.
the council,
Oh, wait, let me do the math here.
council proposed
Council proposed 14,000.
14.
There you go. So $3,500
To 10,500.
to, yep, to $10,500.
Okay. Have a second?
I'll second that. I just would like to make a comment before we do a final vote.
And we'll move it.
Before we make a
Oh.
vote on the amendment, I'd like to just make a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I agree with this reduction. And the reason why is the same request was made in the same fashion last year. And, but that request came from a budget committee member. That person's not on the budget committee, but came to the meeting. and made the request, and then the council brought it forward. Last year, we asked that if the council as a whole felt they deserved more, they should meet. They can meet in executive session with the personnel committee and go and say why, and come up with a reasoning and put that together and as part of this package and direct the town manager to put that increase in the budget. They didn't. And they did it again this year. And they said it's been a long time, this, that. And there's a lot of ways you can look at it. And I think we all have our felt. But I just feel that if they want that, I would like to see the town council meet, discuss it, write down why, put it in the budget, and bring forth with that information. That's a better way to do it.
Agreed.
So for me, if I saw that, I would take it much more consideration to it. So that's why I second that motion.
Okay. So there's a motion to reduce the council proposed budget for council reduced by 3,500.
Yep.
All in favor? Unanimous? And I think to your comment about the planning board, we can visit that.
Yeah, we
When we
will,
get
when we
there.
get there.
To
Yep,
plan.
no problem.
Right.
Dues and subscriptions. Actual. Standing committees. Advertising. Contingency. So we've
We've already reduced the contingency to 15.
Reduce that. to
Right.
15.
So what's going to be left?
13,000 on page 59.
I wrote 13,500.
59? No, it's 15,000. We
It'll be
reduced it by
15, yes.
13,000.
Yeah, sorry,
That's what I wrote.
15.
So there'll be
15,000.
Yep.
Okay.
15.
That's really sad. Can you
That is what I have.
Committee.
I just wanted to make sure I had my numbers right.
Wait a minute, it's down to what?
15.
15,000, same as the
Okay, yeah.
previous year.
15,000.
Okay, that's the end of the council.
I'll make a motion to approve a council as amended.
Second.
Favor? Unanimous. Well, town clerk.
Does anyone else have red on page 63?
Yes.
Yes.
Why is it red?
No.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Okay.
Yeah, I got red.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some numbers are red.
Okay.
I don't know why it's red.
Your book, just to give a quick look. So tidy. So what was
It was new
that?
last year.
2
It
elections?
was last year too?
It was new last year. That's why it's so tidy.
You're a very organized person. So looking from last year, so you have 2 election, 2 deputy wardens. I don't see, I see it as a reduction
Okay.
for that. You know, last year it was 1,631. And the other one was clerk staff to attend council meeting election overtime. And then there is an increase for the clerk staff to attend county meetings / election OT. There's election OT is the elect OT has been added here. So election overtime, that's what it
I
is
would
already.
take it as that.
Yeah. It looks like there's just some general small increases.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing is there's this year, you know, the 2 elections is being budgeted for 11,648, whereas the previous year was 7,872. That's your main thing. So it's like it's a lot more of a, you know, you have some more money going for the elections for those. So small changes. I'm not sure why they're red either. But there are no new positions, at least with the town clerk, deputy clerk, or assistant clerks this year. I think there are 3 assistant clerks, but that would be a nice note to put how many assistant clerks there are. It's always a nice note to put when there's multiple.
Well, the red is, who knows?
Yeah, it's a small. When you look at the amount of money for the election, it's very small in the salary portion comparatively. So I think the increase in that overall budget is due to the COLA.
Okay, on to travel expenditures. It's for training, dues and subscriptions. Actual. Meaning. Advertising. Office supplies. And other commodities.
Nothing major?
Anything there?
I think the clerk's office does a magnificent job.
Yeah, the only thing, it's small, someone wants to do it, is if you look at page 64 for travel expenditures, they generally don't use very much money, spend much money out of here. I think the increase was probably the increase. Oh, there are 5 clerks, by the way. There they've got 5 clerks, 3 classes. They're probably using an estimate for the new mileage rate, increasing it by
Mhm.
68.7. They really don't use it, but I guess if they did use it, that's the estimate on what it would be. So they've got some data on that one. So it's just traditionally, it's generally been only $300-400 a year that ever gets used. So I don't think it's really worth
No,
dropping at this point in time.
I agree.
But in this case, they're saying, okay, there are 5 clerks, estimate 3 classes. Here's how we came up with the numbers. So that's nice to see that data in the book.
Mhm.
It's going to make a motion, but there's data, so I won't make that motion.
What was that? I missed it.
Is it a motion to move it forward?
Oh, second.
All in favor of moving town clerk forward? Yeah, finance. And I think there may have been a question and an answer on the cell phone, page 73.
Well, printed off another set of, I don't know if there was an answer to that one question on cell phone charges.
It was written.
Yeah.
If I can just speak. On this line item, cell phone reimbursement, the finance director in his contract has a cell phone clause, and that's why you're seeing
Contracted.
an increased value here
Okay.
compared to other departments' cell phone uses. It's actually in his contract to pay his cell phone. So that 2,100 is for his cell phone contract. So, that's, I know we were like, why is that high compared to that? Well, he has a specific contract that states a certain amount towards his cell phone, and that's what's being pushed out and described at that point in time.
Okay. Is the technology support specialist, is that an IT person just for the finance, or is that for the whole office staff?
It's for the whole office staff.
Okay.
Even the rec department, I believe.
Yes.
Yep.
I don't know that is an actual full uptown employee. We would have to ask. I know that I think we still have a contract with an IT company, and that we have someone from that IT company spend X amount of time here, and we pay for that portion of the salary. That may have changed. I don't know.
I think that's still the way it is. I don't
So
think there's a full-time person.
we would have to ask that question if that person was brought in-house and is here now. Because previously, that's how it was. We had a outside IT vendor that the finance director worked with, and then we supplemented a salary, so that person actually spent time here, but they still worked for that company, but they were here a certain period of time. I'm not sure if that's still going on or if we hired this person as a full-time.
Well, the way it's presented I mean, to me, I look at it, they're an employee because.
It does appear that way.
Yeah. Otherwise, it should be under contractual.
I do have one though. Good. I do have it. I'm just gonna really quick, and we could always ask to verify that
Because
before.
then you have, all the other employee benefits that go along with
Yeah.
paid, town-paid people, town-paid employees.
I feel like he's here as an employee. That's what my gut says, but I could be wrong.
I just looking at last year's budget, that amount of money, the 75,000, did not change from last year.
Oh, so
And it's a
probably the
very
person.
specific 75,000. So I have a feeling it is not a full-time Standish employee. So, but we could certainly ask the question.
Then it shouldn't be in salaries then. I mean, it should be in contractual if we're contracting with a IT company or person.
I think we could ask clarification on that. I think because that person works here and how the finance director looks at that payment, and gap and so forth, he may have to look at it as a salary and not as a contractual. Because I know in well, it would be, so we'd have to go back to, so IT is in cable television, that's where they put it. So that's back on page 48. So you have your IT contracted services, that's 43,414. That's very small. So then you add the 75,000 for the technology support specialist that we have here on site for X number of days. I don't know what part is the full IT support that they have.
Okay.
But it would, I think, do we want to get some clarification on that, Mr. Chair, that before we vote, just to have a better understanding?
We can do that.
When it was posed to Tasha, did we all discuss this, that staff have a choice of reimbursement or a town phone? And that the $2,100 cell phone charges comprise of multiple staff in a contract. So by contract, they have a choice of reimbursement or town phone. And it adds up to $2,100 by multiple staff.
Yeah, the multiple staff thing. I remember that.
Yeah, that was from questions that Tasha answered.
I also would like clarification on the tech support specialist. If they're a contract or if that's a town employee. Can we also get clarification on the extra time at straight time that's shared with the assistant clerks and finance assistants? 52 hours, who does that apply to here? Does that apply to the tech support specialist?
No, that's to the town assistant clerks and the finance assistant.
Okay, so it's strictly for those two people?
Yes.
Okay. And then that money, or they have extra money also in, okay, never mind. That makes more sense now. So that total amount is shared between the clerks and finance. Okay.
Right, so they would be listed under finance staff.
Thank
so
you.
it's 52 extra hours for them. I think that may be when the tax bills, you know, there's a big rush and a lot extra
Makes sense.
overtime at that point in time.
Travel,
Decrease. I found the purple questions and answers, so I can refer to that if needed.
dues and subscriptions. Contractual. Training. Office supply. Won't have anything.
I think if you wanted to, since we're asking a question about the tech support specialist, just for clarification on that. And since the information came back for the cell phone reimbursement was for multiple people, if we can give a breakdown of that, how many people? And what's the breakdown? Because I know the finance director, it's in their contract, so I think a big portion of that is probably for that, but I think they could say, okay, for the finance director, it is X amount, and then for, you know, if it's one staff or two staff, it's blank. You know, just for clarity, 'cause I think, you know, the finance director, because it's contractual, I don't think we can look and compare that to other cell phone uses. For other departments, I think we were looking at that previously. But for the other staff members, you could say, okay, is that even along the lines? So,
What is your exact question? I wrote under that as one person. Is it, what page are you referencing? That will help me.
73.
it's 73, but I think
Okay.
Pam read an answer saying that.
Did you get that?
I have the answer, yep.
It's
Multiple
scanned
staff and a
from-
contract.
Right.
So if it's multiple staff, can they break down that full cell phone reimbursement under what? Who's that under?
How many people and what is the breakdown?
Yep.
Okay, very good.
For page 73.
Thanks, Heidi.
You're welcome.
So we'll pass that.
I remember Tasha talking about, I don't know if it was here, or if it was in the cable television, about they've partnered with college students as well. Remember them trying to see our weak areas and help us fix them as far as technology. Do you remember her talking about that at the meeting? I don't even remember what college it was. Maybe it was USM or St. Joe's. I don't know. But
Yeah, they have a thing where they try to look to see where your weakness is and you can break into like a hacking type of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of colleges have like cybersecurity programs,
Yep.
and as part of one of their projects, you could be here. Let's see if we can find some weaknesses in the town of Standish.
so we're gonna wait to move finance forward.
I think we have a couple questions.
Got it.
Give us something to do on Tuesday.
Are we planning?
Yep.
I already mentioned it.
Yeah.
But I would like the planning board member stipend, which I did intend to talk about it at the last meeting. I've never been on a site work. Brandon has been a site walk. Brandon has been, but they're not like, it's not like you're walking in somebody's driveway. I mean, sometimes you might be, but all with all these developments going in. As of right now, the stipend is at $3,000 for the entire year for 7 members. That's about $428 a year. And over the past several months, they've had a meeting, a planning board meeting, and also a workshop, plus their site walks. I'm not saying that I know their elected position as well, but I would like to see that their stipend be increased a little bit to help compensate for their time and their gas in going to these different places. They're not just always coming to, everything's in Standish, but that is what I would like to talk about. And then I'm prepared to make a motion as well.
Are planning board meetings scheduled as needed, or are they routine?
Well, they're the first Monday of every month, unless
They got nothing to talk about.
they've got nothing to talk about, but
Okay.
that's very rare.
They have something to talk about.
Well, what I've seen anyway.
Yeah.
So do they have fewer meetings than the town council?
No.
No.
Well,
Somewhat.
if you count that they may cancel because they don't have any business, it would be less than the council because the council is always 12 regular meetings.
Okay. You got someone over there.
Mr. Chair.
And can I say one more thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm just keeping my hand up, just to let you know.
Planning board meetings tend to run longer too. They start at 6. They may not get out until 9:30 or 10.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
yes, Steve.
Okay. Take a deep breath. I'm not in favor of increasing these right now. I think, again, the same reason why I wouldn't increase the town council. I think the planning board and the planner can get together. I looked at the past year. There were 9 planning board meetings. There were 5 workshops for the planning board. I was on the planning board for 6 years before going to council and then onto the thing. It was given, again, what's the stipend for? It's to give some gas money to get to the places to go and so forth, and that's what the money was for. Do they go as many meetings as counselors do? I don't think so. Again, some counselors go to more meetings than other counselors. Some counselors work harder than other counselors. That's the nature of the game. You know, the town council will have their council meeting. They'll have generally a workshop. Workshops get canceled. But then there's standing committees. There's some other committees that come up. But there are other committees that some planning board members go to. For instance, right now, there's a comprehensive planning committee, right? There's a town councilor on that. But there's also there's planning board members on that. I don't know if any planning board members go to the ordinance committee meetings, but that's generally town council meetings. So I'm not into comparing council to planning board. I think they're independent. I think if we also start increasing one and didn't increase the other, we're creating a little bit of a back and forth at this point in time. So my feeling is if the planning board, and also my last feeling is I think the council or town has beefed up the staff of the planning department quite a bit. You know, before it was the town planner and an assistant when I was on the planning board way back. So now you have a director of planning, your assistant, now you have a town planner with the planning board. So the director and the town planner do a lot of extra work to help the planning board with information. And that may be why there's not as many workshops and so forth. So there's more things coming on. I'm not saying they don't work hard, but it's not about the time you spend at meetings because you're elected and so forth. It's supposed to be those incidentals. Oh, I've got to travel to here, or I've got to go to, for me, when I was on council, oh, I've got to go to the Portland Water District meeting, so I had to go and grab dinner, so technically that could be used for my stipend. I just think that if there needs to be an increase, this is where the planning department could look at that and talk with the town manager and come up reasonings why it should be increased, get put in the budget, and then those reasonings can come back through this budget process next year. But I just think this would be the wrong time to try to push this forward, because I think it doesn't look the best when we had some discussions with the town council when they tried to do the increase.
From a historical perspective, does anyone here know why there's a difference between the stipend for the counselors and the stipend for the planning board members?
And historically, there had never really been a stipend for planning board members. One was added for a small amount to pay for some gas money so they could travel to the sites. And that was instituted several years ago. I don't know when.
At least 10?
Maybe a little less than that. We'd have
I'm
to,
just,
we'd
you know,
have to ask.
I'm just,
So,
the topic, I wasn't even aware there were stipends for any of them before. I was
so
involved in the budget committee, so I was just looking at the differences, and they're all elected positions, so.
it is maybe around 9 or 10 years, maybe something like that. I don't know that officially. But that's how that came around, was to give them a small amount of money. So based on those reasons, that's why I'm a little hesitant to make any change to planning board stipend.
Any other comments?
For salaries? No.
Motion.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make a motion to raise the planning board stipend to $8,750.
I'll second.
So you added $5,250.
It would bring them at $1,250 a year per planning board member, which is just a little over $100 a month.
What was that amount, Heidi?
$1,250 per planning board member.
So the total would be what?
$8,750. My reasoning for that is the gas, the time, the added site walks, the meetings. I didn't think about the meetings being long. If they need to buy a pair of boots to do their muck boots to go in through that, they could take, muck boots are probably a little over $100.
There's a motion to make the planning board member stipend $1,250 and total would be 8,750.
Yep, that is my motion.
Okay, that's a
Now-
motion.
Like to add to my my discussion portion of that, or my comment. I understand Steve's suggestion of how to go about doing that, but also as a budget committee, I know that we can make these recommendations and at least put it on their radar more than just somebody, making this, whether it fails or it doesn't fail, or it passes, at least maybe that process could get started of how Steve suggested how it probably should be done.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Is that 4 yes?
4 yes.
Get it on the radar. And no's or any yeah, sorry, no, I'm not supposed to. Thank you. So that passes?
That passes?
Yes.
Yep. So just one other comment. I asked this question at our last joint meeting that the director, it was about TIF funds.
Right.
And some of the director of planning and community development salary is paid by TIF funds. Previously, I think it was 1/3. I don't know if that's still this year. We'll be asking you questions about TIF funds when we get to revenues. But an overall question that I would like to ask now is, what line items in the operating budget are we using TIF funds for? TIF funds are tax increment financing. So we have zones around certain, like Standish Corner. I think also Steep Falls. They'd have to ask the question exactly where we have. We've put a special zone around them where certain increases in property there, certain amount of that money goes to the TIF fund. It can be used for economic development that could directly impact those areas. So because the director of planning is can have an economic impact, it is appropriate to use some of those TIF funds for his salary, which I agree with. It definitely is. So they've used some of that money to offset property taxes.
Is the TIF money segregated on the town's balance sheet?
It is.
Okay.
But that's a question I was asking at the last joint meeting. And I said, where is it? And Scott said, well, there's been a change in the law and it's not there. And I'm like, well, where is it? So I'll be asking that question because I don't understand if it's not in the revenue. Where is it? But we're spending it. So
Now it's generated from taxes on those areas?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a little different. It's
Predominantly-
different from impact. fees.
Predominantly commercial businesses?
Yes. I do believe so. It can be if there is a residential in that area. Portion of that is property tax could go towards that area as well. It's not an increase on them. So you're not,
Doesn't it segregate, basically direct those funds to particular physical improvements in those regions?
it should go into those regions. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
As opposed to just paving any road in the town?
Exactly. You've got to direct them, show that you can direct it towards that area.
Page 83, the dues and subscriptions, are we done? Oh, wait, we're not there yet. Was there anything for travel expenditures?
Or the change down to $3,500 for the planning module, I believe. Here's this.
Yeah, just want to make sure I have the number.
Gravel pits?
Well, that's a wash.
Mhm.
Yeah. Right. Advertising,
We haven't spent any, almost no money spent on training so far, but maybe it comes later.
Can I ask, on page 85, historically, has it always just been training where other departments break it out? Is it just, what kind, is it just one training seminar? Training book?
I don't know that,
Has it ever been broken out, or has it always just been training?
I don't remember. You know, if there's like, oh, there's this training that the town planner or the economic developer always go to each year, that they ever have that. They just put generic training of, there are miscellaneous trainings that they go to and they pick and choose. I'm not-
Okay.
I don't
And
know.
again, for confirmation, money that's not get used gets put back into the general fund.
Yes.
Okay, I'm getting there. Woo! That makes me happy.
advertising, the supplies. We come to the end of planning. Anyone have anything else?
Have we ever thought about reducing the training budget or no? Have you ever, we haven't really talked about it.
Do you know what they spent or what they were budgeted last year? Has it always been 5,000?
Like the last 2 years, it's been 5,000.
Last year it was 5,000, but we've only spent, I believe,
Nothing. Well,
$59 so
Yeah.
far this year.
in the prior year, it looks like it was 5,000, and that's when I spent 2,200.
Ooh, wait.
1,220.
Yeah, previous year it was 2,220.
But they budgeted 5,000.
Yeah, it's a typical $5,000 budget.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be averse to cutting it. If they're not spending it, why have it on the books? What are your thoughts?
What we don't know is whether or not there was some training that they plan on, and for whatever reason, it doesn't come to fruition. Hasn't happened in the last 2 years, or the last year and a half.
Exactly, that's why I asked. Is it always just said training, nothing's broken out?
Yeah.
There's no details. Yeah.
Training has always been an up and down with budget committees over the years. When I was on the council, it was a big focus to reduce training. If you reduce training, then we can't go and things of that nature. Well, you got to go, or else we're going to take away the money, and it's back and forth. It's how you want to do it. I agree with the statement. It just says training. Maybe there's some specific ones that could be listed that help guide why the $5,000 is there.
Yeah.
That would be helpful information for this year or next year's budget.
Since we're asking stuff on page 81, can we also ask if they have a breakout for the training that they're looking at this year for $5,000?
You can. I don't think the TIF question I had was a general question. I don't think it would stop you from voting
Yeah. it's
on the
not-
planning.
yeah,
I just wanted it as a
No,
general
it's-
information.
it's what
Where
it
is it being
is.
used?
Okay.
And
That's up to you.
you're gonna do
We
that.
can make suggestions, right? Then the council can discuss them and get answers, correct, as well? So, okay.
So we can make a recommendation that the training line be broken down.
Mhm.
Does that prevent us from voting on it, on this section?
What's that?
Does it prevent us from voting on this section if we're making a recommendation?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, as long as we're
Changing.
not changing the
The numbers?
number.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a motion to reduce the training budget to $2,500.
I'm gonna second that. And that's because they've only spent less than, what, $80 so far this year? And it's just not showing what they're using it on, so it's hard to see if there's stuff coming up. And they only spent 2,200 last year. That's my justification for seconding that.
Okay, so there's a motion to change the request by 25 minus $2,500. That's a motion and
And
second.
I seconded it.
So all in favor of changing the training budget? Unanimous. And advertising.
Are we waiting on anything for planning then, or can we?
Could I ask a question first? Go ahead, yeah,
Yeah,
are you, when you did your recommendations, just so it's easier for my note taking, did you write page numbers on your sheet? I forget that thing that you made us sign. You asked us to sign.
No, I just said that it was, whatever is in the capital,
Okay, thank
Public
you.
Works,
Thanks.
the highways, so I just used that as a title. I didn't do pages, but I'll be doing pages, I think.
I'll write it, okay, I'll put it in the notes.
Operational.
I'm color coding things also. So Lisa had asked if we needed to do any questions to come back,
I don't think so.
Okay, good.
because they're red and green. I get accused of Christmas colors all the time, so I'm sorry. It's red and green and black.
It's better than yellows and
It's because of the Christmas tree connection.
Yeah.
Just don't do white.
No.
purple ink.
Do we need anything else answered? The TIF question, Steve said we could pass planning through as amended. So I'll make a motion to, move planning forward as amended with the one amendment.
Actually, two.
Oh,
Your,
oh, yep,
your
there's
planning
two.
board,
Thank
right?
you.
And I'll second that.
All in favor? Opposed?
If you put down the minority of why I voted no to that, it is due to the change in stipend. It depends on how the chair writes the report. The previous years, if it was a split note, I would say majority believes X, minority was said this, but it's always the majority that is the reason that goes towards the council. Sometimes I give a little reasoning for that, but yeah, my reason for the no is due to the increase in the planning board stipend.
I've been using like the last 5 years of recommendations to see how they were done.
That's how you learn.
Hey, I see the hands on the clock are getting close. So we got about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
I think we can get appeals board done in there.
Yes.
I have
Definitely.
some information to present to you guys tonight too. I would like some time for that. I'd like at least 7 minutes, please.
We can do appeals board.
Appeals board will be quick.
I had nothing for appeals board.
Yeah, we have travel, news, contractual, training, advertising, and it would be the end of appeal.
Make a motion that we move the appeals board forward.
Second,
All in favor? Unanimous.
Right.
You want to let Heidi go now?
I appreciate you
I've
letting
got
me have some time to present some information to you that I gathered over the course of the week. And my little presentation is hopefully not too terrible. So I know that we've talked about, and I'll just come right out, it's about public safety and the Knox boxes. I'm a teacher, and so this is something that we do have at our school, so I kind of feel like, and we even have it at our church in Buxton. So I just want to speak up more about it. So I want to thank you also all for being on the budget committee and serving with all of you. I have learned so much, and my book last year is neat because it was my first year. My book this year is not as neat, and I still have papers to fill in. But anyways, so I know we might not agree, but I'd like for you just to hear and see my efforts and of what I've gathered over the past few days. As you could tell when we talked about the Knox boxes, there was a lot of comments about not purchasing them at all. And because it would be more cost in the future. So I wasn't sure if presenting it as a whole package would be a possibility. And I think I asked that at a couple of meetings, and I don't know where everybody sits with that. So what we currently have, I'll pass this out. And then, excuse my printer issues, 1, 2, 3. Could
so
you pass that
you're
section
talking
down?
about, the proposal was for 5, but
Yeah.
the top would be 20.
Yeah, and I have some pictures, and I spoke with a few different firefighters. I just want to present the information that I gathered. I know there wasn't a huge presentation that day, and Lisa had tried calling other places.
Yeah, don't do that.
And so I know a few firefighters and locally that actually have this system on their trucks. So, I was thankful for their willingness to be able to talk to me and whatnot. So if you look on this picture with the little, fire extinguisher, this is what we currently have. It's a little kitty, realtor lockbox with the Knox keys in them for the businesses, churches, and schools in the community that have that lockbox system on the exterior of their building. So as we've grown and our department hires more people, we should be mindful of keeping things secure, and that is where this need comes from. It's not from a broken system. It's just a desire. It comes from a desire to make our department more efficient and secure. The system would track who takes the keys out, at what time, and when they are put back. We do need a two-lock system due to St. Joseph's College, which spent over $100,000. I don't know why it says years, but 100,000 on my notes, you don't see that, on the system. And we haven't lost any keys yet. Only 5 were presented as 3 vehicles. The reason why only 5 were presented in the original budget is because 3 of the vehicles, we aren't completely sure if this, and this, what I printed off here, Key Secure 6, I couldn't get actually, like, I reached out to Knox myself today, and this is what they sent me. So this is their newest one, but this doesn't house 2 keys. And what we have to have, because of St. Joseph's College, we have to have a system that has 2 keys, which is the next one down, which is Key Secure 5. But this gives you a picture or an idea of actually like exactly what it is. And then you can see this on the other side of this picture. These are the Key Secure. So this is an older model, looks like 3B, that is on another fire truck at a local fire department. So it keeps track of everybody. Everyone would have their own code, whereas what we're using now, the code is the same for every single firefighter. There's no way to track if a key goes missing. When we have this new system, everyone's given their own individual code, and there's reports given as to, I think of it kind of like as a GPS system almost, like when we have GPSs on our vehicles for our pest control business. Those when they're somewhere, we know where they're at all the time. Like we can say, oh, he's 10 minutes away. This would be the code. You would know exactly what time somebody took something out of that box and when it was put back. So as I said, the reason only 5 were presented were because 3 of the vehicles, he's unsure if this specific system will work on it. There's another picture, maybe I didn't share it with you. I have of what, if this doesn't work, it's a more expensive unit. I believe it's like $4,000, and we already have some of them. I believe he said 3 inside the ambulance units, and it's what we use to lock up narcotics. So the program or the system, it was already something that we're somewhat familiar with. So as I said, I have a parent that's a firefighter and a coworker's husband, and both were shocked that Standish doesn't have the system already. And I do teach at a small private school here in Standish. And as a teacher, I want to know that our school will have a quick and safe and least possible damage to our structures, and trusting that the department will help us achieve these goals. They should have these boxes on all their trucks. The units are $1,208 each. Chief estimated $600 per unit to install. I did call today 2 different places and ask about install, but of course these people are not in Maine. One was in New Hampshire and one was in Texas. They don't know what install rates would be here, but I'm curious, in thinking like this was just in the past, hours tonight between work and coming to this meeting, if our mechanic that we've hired through Public Works would be able to install these, so we would be able to save, that $600 per unit, and it wouldn't be $35,000. Maybe it could just be $25,000. So I wanted you guys to have this stuff to think it over. And yeah, I know I'm learning and growing. And it feels good to be part of something bigger than ourselves. Our duty is more than just for us to be, we're not even like caretakers of the budget, but we're we're looking over it and to help save money, but also be able to suggest improvements or things like that we see as a need. and I, obviously being able to balance spending versus taxing, and yet community safety has to be a priority as well. That's it. I know we don't all have the right answers, but I wanted to show you the information that I put together and the research
Did
that.
you say installation maybe
600?
600
That's what,
per?
that was in my conversation with Chief Karen. I came to the fire department and wanted to look at what we had currently. And I mean, I have this on the side of my house. And it's not secure. So I think making it a better secure system is extremely valuable. The only reason, yes, they want more units, and it will either be more money then or it could be more money now. I do wish that I had that. I wish that we all had this information, at like that council meeting, and maybe it could have been put in the budget as all of that. But I will, when we get to that, would like to discuss that more. So I want you guys to have this, and then you can look it over the weekend, and then when we come back on Tuesday, yes, you have a question. Pam?
I don't quite understand these things. So
Oh.
it's a, one of these units is on each one of the fire trucks and each one of the ambulances.
Yes,
And then by punching in the codes, then you can get a key.
and that key
That key then allows you to open another box on the side of the building.
of where the incident is, yes.
And then inside that box on the side of the building are other keys to get you into the building.
Yes,
Okay.
because there's not enough, the fire trucks can't house every key for all the
Right,
dorms at St.
I
Joe's and
understand that.
whatnot.
So, but the key that's in this box that you access with a code,
It's this key right here. I believe this is the key that it is. So it's
So-
not like the box opens, it just unlocks that key from coming out.
so that key is, everyone who has one of these boxes has that key, but you only, but this system would require that if that key is not put back in it, the code's gonna, people are gonna know that
Exactly who had the key last.
Who has the key? Okay,
Mm.
okay. So it's a way to track the who has access to these buildings, basically.
Pam?
Who has access to the key in the vehicle.
Yeah.
Every employee's code would be individualized to that person.
I understand that.
Pam? I did put a few, in conversations, a few quotes from the firefighters that I spoke to.
Great, great job, Heidi. So you want us to look this over, that it could be a $25,000 in purchasing all of them, if we had people who could help with the installation already on
Yeah,
track, but $36,000 if we don't have that for all of the units that we would need. Instead, it's on page 124 for everyone in public safety, when we will take that up next Tuesday.
yes. Thank you.
Nice job, Heidi. Can I ask, how long have we had the current system in place?
There was a question about something that somebody asked, and I believe, I'm gonna guess it's been over 20 years.
And there's been no incidents in 20 years?
Yep. I didn't ask that question about incidents in 20 years. I don't know incidents in 20 years. I'm sorry.
No, this was
The
great.
part of it is, the changeover in employees and staff. Everybody has the codes to what's underneath those seats right now.
Yep.
I have another topic to bring up because I know we haven't gotten to it yet, but in the employee benefits, I have some questions on how they calculated their numbers. And I'm wondering if I should just contact the finance guy before our next meeting or run it through Joe and have Joe contact him.
You'd run it
You
through
have
Joe.
questions?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What's that?
You'd run it through Joe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
You
So
don't-
if you want to send me an email
Okay, I'll do that.
with all of that, so that.
Oh, but related to that, does anyone know if we use a payroll processing company for payroll processing of all the employees? Or do we do it internally?
Is that what the Munis is for? That would be a good question, but I think that's what the Munis equipment is for.
Yep.
But it would be good to get clarification. Was that in general admin?
Yeah, because I saw that,
Yeah.
we talked about it earlier.
Right.
I asked that question because the number, some of those numbers aren't,
I
questions on some of those numbers.
think what that's for, but if you have any doubts or questions, absolutely 100% ask the question.
I'll send you an email, Joe. And,
Okay. 'Cause I
hopefully we can get an answer to that before our next meeting.
think, well, what did we say about payroll and,
Did we ask that question already? Is that what you're asking?
Well, they're adding it to the Munis system. I think that we still do it in-house, but it's not it's not part of the system, so it's not as efficient.
okay. Because
That's
it
my
does list payroll and time and attendance, but is that being added? Or is that already there? And
But the employee benefit
not
was all
sure.
separate at 217.
Right.
32.
It was my understanding that that's why the increase was in that section, was they were adding those pieces to Munis.
Right.
Okay.
But it would still would be good to clarify, does that mean that we're doing payroll in-house?
Right.
So last year's budget under Munis, does not include
Okay,
payroll and
so
attendance, so that's.
won't
they
add
added
that.
too.
Yeah. It wasn't included last year. It is this year.
If you send me those emails, I'll email. Depends on if there's one or
We meet next Tuesday at
And-
6.
Our next meeting is Tuesday at 6:00. And we'll have to decide then how many more meetings we need and we can schedule those. Probably.
So if I can just add a follow-up, I wanted to know where the TIF money's being used for expenses. I'd like to know where the TIF revenue is in the budget. Because in reserves, it used to be under use of other funds.
Yeah.
And the use of other funds is 0, and that's where Scott said, no, there's been a change, it's different. But there's got to be a revenue to use TIF funds, and I don't see that in the budget. So to me, it's got to be somewhere in that revenue line.
Did you watch that meeting where somebody asked him about it? I don't know. Who asked? You were here? You were the one.
I was the one who asked him about it. And
Okay.
I didn't quite follow, but I didn't want to go. But
Yeah.
if you go to page 4 of the budget, there's down near the bottom, it says other financial sources. And see, it's 0 this year. Last year it was 34,574. I believe that was TIF funds. I could be wrong.
So
But if we are using TIF funds in our operating budget this year, where is it as a revenue being used? Here, I just didn't, I didn't understand that. I wanted to follow up with it, but I didn't want to do it at that meeting.
Got it under there for you.
Anyone have anything else? See, a lot of books are closed.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I second.
All in favor? Unanimous?